Everybody, good afternoon. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Afternoon, everybody. All right, we got FOMC meeting coming up tomorrow, coming in hot. We've got OPEX, potentially the biggest one ever, coming up on Friday. Today was the last day to trade VIX. The fear was it on the CNN Fear and Greed Index cranked up to 11, or actually down to 22. Extreme fear, and should be an interesting week. The big surprise, I guess, might be an absolute dud. Excuse me, I'm tired already. All trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation is intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instrument. If you desire somebody to tell you what to do, there's people you can hire for that, like my man downstairs with Edward Jones' office, literally underneath me. It's the irony of the world, I think. And I believe you can just learn this stuff and do way better. But if you naively trade stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries, betting markets, you might lose money. So be careful out there. Be careful out there. So FOMC, pretty much a foregone conclusion that nothing's going to happen. No change, 99%. On the morning show, we had an 88% for no change. Few people thought we'd cut. Few people thought we'd raise rates. Now, what's interesting, though, is the market is actually pricing in raises for the next 6 months. The odds of a rate raise are becoming higher than a rate cut, mostly due to this right here. We're seeing the market tell us that we're not easing anymore. We're potentially going higher. First warning sign. We'll have to see how this goes. As always, one data point does not make a new trend, but we are seeing the biggest components of inflation absolutely skyrocket. And probably got to go back to, look at that. Look at that. On the morning show, I said, QQQ might hang out right around this level all day, and that's what she did. Beautiful. Spine. Hung out on the roadmap line. That was pretty much what I said was going to happen. I was like the big options level down here could come up here. Got this large level down here, but might just hang out with the roadmap line, and that's exactly what I did. Funny how that works. But gasoline rocking it higher. Man, look at that baby. About to break out and go. Only been talking about this for a little while. And a little while is in 4 years. We're getting above this 618. And this would be probably a bigger time frame thing. Yeah, this is a monthly chart. This is a monthly chart bounce. So this is the risk here. If we end the month, so we've got a couple more weeks to go. If we end the month above here, it could end up right up in here. Monthly chart bounce. So we're looking at, and we got the rest of this week, next week, and 2 more days. So we got 2 weeks basically left in the month. If we hang on to this for 2 more weeks, this potentially, even if we get a pullback, this potentially sets us up for $5 a gallon gasoline. Holy bananas. Maybe even $5.60. Glad my truck runs on sunshine. Beautiful. Heating oil. Same sort of thing. Diesel fuel. Look at that potential pop. Oh man, look at that. We tagged that. So this little pattern right here, we tagged that right there. Ooh, shakalaka. Beautiful. A beautiful pattern. Here's the high. Here's the low. What's crazy? That low, this high. Sets up for a wicked potential right here. So we could pop up into the $5 area. Wrong, I might have a heart attack if he's around. But this also could come up here. Price action plays out. Holy shnikes, man. $12 a gallon. Diesel fuel. That would cripple the world. You may be sitting here thinking, never gonna happen. Looks like a real potential to me. That's gonna be gnarly. Talk about inflation right there. Diesel fuel, my friends. That's what heating oil is. This is gasolina. Similar kind of pattern. 5, 6. We could rock and roll this even higher too. This would be pretty crippling for the world, I do believe. Look at that. First move up. $16 a gallon. Yikes. Still glad my truck runs on sunshine. Wow. $16 a gallon. That's man. That'd be rough right there. That would be rough. It's in the chart. Heard it here first. If we get some kind of crazy thing going on, gasoline potential for $16. Heating oil. The diesel fuel, $12 to $21 a gallon. That's what we're talking about per gallon. Gee, many Christmas. Holy bananas. Now, this chart unfortunately goes negative and messes with the whole shebanger. But that move up, this retrace. I've had 150 to 170 on here for a while, but the crazy thing, if I go to a clean sheet, CL1 exclamation point. If I go over here to relatively clean sheet, jump up to the monthly. Have to turn off the market bounce. If this big if this went from negative to positive, just say that was the goal, the first move up off the low. 225 a barrel. Wow. Lots of people talking about 150 a barrel. Imagine how crippling 225 a barrel would be. That's inflation, my friends. That's the potential. And if this thing gets out of control, it's like a what do I call it? Self-eating, the snake eating its own tail. It self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing, like it kind of circular firing squad, if you will. Self-perpetuating, that's what it is. That's the word I was thinking of. Self-perpetuating situation. Yeah, I don't want to do that on this chart. I want to go back to the other chart, DXY. If this thing starts breaking out, gets up here, like the situation could get pretty gnarly, pretty quickly. See that dollar index up here? Things could get pretty crazy. I mean, look at gold. Gold's already telling you something's up. Man, oh man. So this is warning signs. Yeah, I mean, catalyst for a greater depression, really. I think it's greater depression is, maybe it's telling us we get, people have told me there's no way the United States experiences hyperinflation, but that those kind of numbers look like they would be hyperinflation, right? All of a sudden it costs $20 a gallon to get gas. Gold looking like it may come back down, at least in the short term. I'm not saying that gasoline situation plays out right now. We could easily pull back, retest. If we don't get the close above those 618s, then it can easily go back lower. So we'll see what happens. And it's still like 75% chance once we get the close above the 618 that we go higher, versus 25% chance that we don't complete the pattern. So there's always the chance that we don't. And it's just wild to think about, though. Wild to think about. That big OPEX coming up out here. I talk about this quite a bit in the morning show, especially the wrap up. Oh, that was cool. I just went to click on the heat map and close it. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted bullflow.io. There we go. And that's cool. Dashboard. Maybe later. Gex dashboard. So we've got QQQ here. Ended up with a pretty solid level into the close. Big show out to the end of the week. The big OPEX. We've got a 400 million down here at 590. 400 million right here at 600. We were hanging at 604. I think I said 602 on my guess. Another big level down, 175 million. So there's a lot of players out here for this big quarterly OPEX. And SPY should still have this big level. Golly, right there, $1.3 billion. Fear is rampant in the market. We're at 671. This is down at 660. There's big levels stacked every basically $5 increments all the way down here. 350 million, 450 million, 400 million. It's pretty crazy. Like, they're pricing in. This is where the extreme fear comes from in the market right here. And the VIX is an interesting critter because it expires today, and it looks at, I can't pull up VIX on here, unfortunately, but VIX uses the front month options for SPX to price this out. So we're seeing VIX decline a little bit, mainly because it expired today. people gotta get out today if they're gonna get out. But SPX is the instrument of choice for VIX, not SPY. And when you look out a month, it was sweet. Look at this. 690 is a 2.4 billion. The big level on SPY was down 660, which would be down here. Wherever it was, 660 right there. There's 855 million here. There's a 1.1 billion. But the front month has less negativeness, which is indicative that VIX is going to be dropping. Now, how they price out the VIX on the weeklies, I'm not so sure. But the VIX is a forward-looking, always uses front month options, not current month, front month. That's what they call it, the next month out, calls and puts. It is looking a little bearish, though. You look at the put levels are definitely bigger for the front month than they are the current month. We're seeing some positive gamma in here. Closed at 67.20, so we closed right down here. This big gamma bubble up here, 1.1 billion, 68.50, 6,900 has that 2.4 billion, 69.50 has 400 million, and another 1.3 billion dollars up here at 7,000. Yeah, there's a 1.4 billion out here in June, 7,000. So this big OPEX is going to happen. The last day to trade these options right here with this gamma, these are AM options right here. And you may be like, what? So index options, there's two different varieties. And if you've ever seen if you've seen my K-info thing and you're like, what the devil is IndexP and SPXW? Well, that has to do with the AMPM stuff. If you just played regular SPX, you've only got this critter right here. And the last day to trade that is Thursday, and it expires on Friday morning at the open at a price that they determine after the open. So it has nothing to do with what it closed with on Friday, but you have to, the last day you can trade it is on Friday. Weird. And it's cash settled, so you get cash for whatever you've done. But there's weekly, these W's, and that's where you get these SPX W's right there. And then on Nasdaq, same situation. You get these AM options. It's actually a PM option here. You get these W's, but for whatever reason, instead of being NDXW, they have NDXP. A lot of people just say that's the PM expiration, and those are basically the dailies that expire. Now, if you play in, this one's a different critter, so be careful. Watch out when you're trading in index options. I like them. 60% of the gain counts as long-term gain, even if it's a day trade. So VIX uses those front month options on SPX through the whatever complex calculation that they do to come up with the index price. And so we've seen that big spike right back here on the 9th, and we're kind of bleeding it off a little bit. Now, if this three-wave thing continues, we could see it push on back down to 17. That could happen quickly based on the history, and then we could get another spike to see even higher. That could happen first week April. I was kind of speculating on that this morning, that this looks deja vu-y the last year where we did this big spike right there toward the end of the month. We had a nice spike right into the 11th, a drop, and then boom, all the way up there in the 50s. But then it bled right back down. Could be interesting. All right. Enough of all that. Today shook out basically like I thought it would. Didn't think we'd do a whole lot today in front of FOMC tomorrow. Probably not. Won't do a whole lot tomorrow in front of FOMC. Today was the big VIX OPEX, so just held it in here. Didn't really let it go anywhere. And we have the big, this is a unique FOMC right here. They positioned it right in the middle of this options expiration week. Right here. It's positioned right there on the Wednesday. We have Thursday, last day to trade indexes. And then Friday is the big show. So we may see some intermediate volatility, or it may just be a complete dud. And there's so many options played that we just hold it still. And next week's when we get the reaction. I don't know. Ought to be interesting either way. So, I usually take requests for, Kimberly's here, my favorite subscriber. I usually take requests for at least 30 minutes, probably a little bit longer. And then I switch over to an Ask Me Anything if I'm still going at 6 o'clock Eastern time. So the rules of the game go, you got to use capital letters, complete ticker. If you ask a question, you got to use complete sentences. Don't say this, that, these, those. Thank you for that. Don't do that. And I'm going to get behind in the chat. I'll keep up as much as I can. I'm going to do high-level analysis. And I'll keep going. And when we get to the Ask Me Anything portion, I'll just switch over to that and keep going on the list. So if you want to see your request and I don't get to it, it'll be in the Ask Me Anything video. It's like $5 to be a channel member. It's not even crazy. So there you go. And so if you make a request, let 3 or 4 other people go before you make another request. And if you're a channel member, you can do all you want after we switch to Ask Me Anything. So be kind to people that aren't channel members, please. AGLM, ALGM, get the right letters out of the right order in my mouth. Down to the supports. Here's the high, here's the low, 618, bounce. Get above that, upside target, somewhere around 46. See how close I got. Oh, look at that. Bingo, bango. There's the 618. There's the 46. Got to get above there. 38. So looking for that daily close above there to go up there. And could it crash on down? Sure. I've done enough of these that I can basically draw the chart in my head without drawing it on the screen. So this one's starting to be a little bit deeper. Probably a 3-day. Yep, 3-day mounts. Can't tell if it touched yet. 1, 2, 3, ABC down. Wait for it to touch there in the 46 area. Bounce back up, close above the 53 area for 59 on the upside. ONDS, probably a retrace. And so we kind of held in by this prior high. I mentioned that before. It's going to be significant resistance probably to breaking out. And this could take a deeper spill before we get the energy to break out, if we're going to break out. Otherwise, if we make a lower high, a deeper retrace could be in order for ONDS. And TC, we basically back tested the breakout and the upside, potentially back up to 100 area. IDE. Just straight up needs a pullback. See these violent pullbacks it did last time it went straight up? Definitely pull it back in the low teens. And watch out for that one. Lily, still got the upside target. Nice. Look at that. Beautiful resistance right there. Boom. So here's the high. There was the low. Here was the entry. Boom, shakalaka target. Chop, chop, chop. Gave you plenty of opportunity to get out, and right back down to the roadmap line. Boom. Now the question is this complete? Are we going deeper? A little bit choppy up here. Big flush today. No indication this will be done. Nothing in here looks proportional. First move down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could come on down. 3, 1, 2, 3. Probably going to be in a correction for a little bit. Be my guess. Did not go ahead and make a move on higher. See, got support right there at 913. Potential bounce back up in this area. And a flush on down. And a 3-wave up to 618. Back in this area. So you want to see the potential to come down here. Bounce up here. Flush down here. Go like this. 1, 2, 3. And then do a move like that. Somewhere in the back down in here. Wouldn't surprise me at all to do something like that. And CMG, looking for it to hold this 618 right here. Tested it. Next move, breakouts. Now the question is this going to be a 3-wave move? And if it is, be prepared to eject. And this is my cautionary point right there. Line in the sand. That might be it. That would be a trend pullback continuation. Very cautious about that. AAPL. What's the bullish case? There isn't one at the moment on CMG because it's in a downtrend. Move down. 1, 2, 3. Retrace. Potential to come on down lower. May rally up to resistance at the roadmap line before we turn down more. And next up, IMUX. And it's under $1 or at $1. I wouldn't even touch this. I wouldn't touch this with your money. Low price stuff doesn't really work on what I do. HG. Probably gonna come back to the roadmap line back. You know, this low price stuff again. Under 20 bucks. Stuff's kind of unpredictable as far as what it does. Kind of follows the patterns, but it also can just take a left turn at Albuquerque and just do its own thing, and it's very difficult. I just tend to stay away from that stuff. So already did AAPL double bubble. Please watch the chart or watch the chat. Don't re-request for everybody now. CBOE, while it can just rip, probably looks best with a retrace. Another one of those. Right back down. And FBTC is just Bitcoin. I go over Bitcoin every morning. So the Bitcoin path looks like this. You're like, I don't know how to tell how Bitcoin relates to FBTC. I'll show you a trick here in a second. Here's the path. Probably coming up here. Probably going back down here. And probably coming up here. Now, the crux of this is this A may have already been here. this B may be right there. And we are working on this C right up here. And it could be faster. Slightly faster than what I was predicting. And then the target on the bottom is 30 to 50K. Sometime between the summer and the fall. Right down here. That's the path. Now, you're like, cool, how do I do that, right? How do I figure out what the ratio is? Just do a little math on the thing here. Bitcoin, BTC USD divided by FBTC. Boom shakalaka, here's your multiplier. Comes in hot. You're like, whoo, that's messy. Just look at where the line is in here. Basically 1150 is your multiplier. So you can take BTC USD divided by 1150 or 1148. Boom. There's your numbers. You can do your proportions. And if you're looking at my chart, you're like, oh, you're targeting somewhere around 92. You just take 92 and divide by 1148. That gives you your FBTC target. But I'm leaving this all on here because this might be a resistance that might still happen and that might still happen. It's just, it's possible that that B is right there and that A from up here is right here. And then we're working on the C that comes up in here. That's probably going to happen in the April to June area. That's why this red box is here. Probably going from here up to there and then down to the other red box. So there you go. That's how you do FBTC, that's how you do IBIT, that's how you do all those Bitcoin ETFs. PYPL. If the math was over your head, maybe you shouldn't trade with real money. Long term, I had this target down here. Missed it just a shade. Picked my time frame. About a year and a half short. Didn't really expect this bounce in here, I guess. Finding support. So this could be the good big long-term bottom here. Moving up, retracing. Next move would be to come up and test this daily roadmap line. Break through. Back test from above. And hold and go. But if we start breaking back down below a 618, break back down, we can make lower lows. You just go off the low, go off the high right now. Right around 42.20 is your current support that you'll be watching for. Let's go ahead and set this up. Give you 3 extra minutes. Set the members only live stream, APA. And if I get to the end of this the end of the request list before I get to the live stream, I'll just end it up. I will do a members live stream for channel members tomorrow during FOMC. We may, if it's fireworks, we'll keep it going. If it's really boring, we'll wrap it up. APA probably come back down. It's usually the way we roll. Most of the ones lately have been pretty boring. This could retrace on down. And first move down. Retraced off of that right there. Right to the 50%. Didn't hit the ideal. Came up shy. That means it's more aggressive on the downside. And we may see it actually go a little lower. Somewhere down in this low teens area for N and E. ALGM, pretty sure I did that one already. That was the first one that was requested. Pay attention. PALL. Potential to have bounced off the roadmap line here. Just barely missed, but Come back up. Get a close above that. Upside 209. And ATAI. And this came back to the roadmap line and died. So sideways is the expectation until something upsets here. Just churning in this zone right here for the foreseeable future. MTD. Oh, so that's a long-term downtrend. Lower high, lower high, lower highs. Watch out below. Probably first move down, retrace. So this is probably the first move down. This is probably the second move. And that leaves this open for the third move. Somewhere down around 800. Right in there. Not predicting time, just the only chart I tried to predict time on was Bitcoin because it typically takes just under 12 months to do its correction from its high to its low. It's done that like 4 times in the past. So I expect it to wrap up this correction by October. Could be longer, could be shorter. Cisco trying to break out of this long term. Think about it. If you bought right here at the peak of the .com, you're just now back to scratch. I imagine there's very few people that held that long, but trying to break out. This may so far this is rejecting the breakout and may come back to the roadmap line. Of course, that's coming up pretty quickly, so could be back down in the 50s. I'd be careful. I'm not sure this time's any different. We'll see. AMRX. Sounds like a biotech pharma. Be careful here. Also low priced. Be careful again. It's a double warning. In fact, I even have a button for biotech pharma. These things don't always follow the patterns. Sometimes they just, stuff the Food and Drug Administration gets involved in just sometimes just kind of does its own thing. Potential to get back above 13 and go to 16. My best guess. MTD. I think I already did that one. Yeah. I jumped the chat. That's what I did. There we go. CIEN. 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 Get the fingers on the right keys. So big picture resistance up here. Other than that, lowest low, pull back, retrace. Starting to look like 5 up. And we're at a proportion where we might get a steep retrace, and that steep retrace may come right back down to the roadmap line before we can go higher again. So something in this vicinity back down to this vicinity would be my primary expectation. That would be 5 up, probably a 3-wave retrace, which could set it up for a bigger pop, but you're gonna have to suffer through a retrace from 400 back down to 56. Maybe like, I don't think that's happening. That's okay. Crazier things have happened. Small time frame. It's just been ripping. And that was, look at that rip from 55 right up there to 360. Turn right back around. Careful out there. Be careful. Goals. Advanced materials. One big rip off the lows does not make a trend. So lowest low right here. One big rip. No pullbacks. I'm a trend pullback continuation trader. All my patterns rely on that. There's no pullbacks. So, and there's no roadmap line. There's no price history. So I can't really give you much of anything on that one. Sorry. PANW resistance right up here. Roadmap line and 618 from the high to the low. And so we got the bottom end of the support down around 175, 178-ish area. Got this 186.50 level. And there's this whole big zone that we could bounce off of if we're going to continue to be bearish. It's like the warning zone. Now, usually, if we get above the 618 and we still fail, we'll stay in this zone. Not every time, but a lot of the time. And then if we can get on through, sets up the upside to 239 for PANW SMCI. Guess where this is heading? It's kind of like PayPal. Eventually, we've got a date with the bottom. Just don't know how long it's going to take to get down there. Under the roadmap line, bearish. Big three-wave down targets, bearish. That's a A down, 1, 2, 3, B retrace, or 1, 2, 3, B retrace, however you want to look at it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And it says lower go back below 10. They should have never split it 10 for 1 back here. Just left it. It'd be 300. Still generating awesome potential for people. Kava, a little bit different path here than I look at it as like the wingman for Chipotle, but it's running off and leaving Chipotle. Chipotle's screwing around down here. And this thing is ripping, baby. Take a little churn to get through the roadmap line, coming up on the 618. Get through that zone. And we are set for liftoff. It's like Mediterranean Chipotle, I guess. Greek Chipotle. So 255 potential. 214 would probably be a more conservative target. Once we get above there, like we could still pop up here, reject off, and come back down. Still potential. What is the significance of FOMC meeting being in the middle of the week? It's because that's the way it always is. FOMC calendar 2026. They love to meet on Tuesdays and wrap up on Wednesdays. Now, every meeting right now is a 2-day meeting. Used to prior Fed chairs and maybe the new Fed chair after May. We may go back to the schedule where they have a 2-day, 1-day. They used to do these every time we do these economic projections. It's always a 2-day meeting. But the ones in between used to be 1-day meetings. So we used to get FOMCs on Tuesdays on the 1-days, and we get them on Wednesdays on the 2-day meetings. And that happened under Greenspan and under Janet Yellen. And then Powell decided he likes to speak every time. He likes to do a more in-depth meeting. And now we have 2-day meetings every time. They may go back to the 2-1-2, 1-2-1-2. So these ones with the asterisk, those have always been 2-day meetings. They always start on a Tuesday. That's just always been, why? Started before I traded. I don't know. I'm not a banker, so I guess because Monday usually has chaos. So they meet on Tuesdays. They don't like, bankers don't like to work on Sunday, so they travel on Monday and get there and do their meeting. It's always in person, and they wrap up on Wednesday. And it was always, the one-day meetings were never had a speech either. So Greenspan, and back in the days of Greenspan and back in the days of Janet Yellen, the one-day meetings didn't have a speech. It was just an economic projections release, and that was it. And then there'd be fireworks. And now Powell, I guess, loves the mic, loves speaking, and he does a speech every single time at 2:30 after they release the numbers at 2. So that's why, that's what you got. EMPH, as far as why they do it, it's kind of like part of what they do. Every 6 weeks, go review. So EMPH potentially hit the bottom here. And one move up off the bottom does not a new trend make. Retrace the roadmap line. If we break out higher, that's an indication we're going on higher. But we've got a long way to go to get back to the top. Long way indeed. Here's the high, here's the low. So that major resistance comes up right where we consolidated on the way down. Funny enough, this consolidation was here before this low was made that established where this 618 is. Kind of blows my mind a little bit when I see that happen. Happens a lot. A lot. So, interestingly enough, a lot of times when you're getting moves like this and you're like, man, consolidation, I wonder where the bottom is going to be. You could pull that down until that line kind of lined up, and somewhere in the vicinity would have put you roughly at a target level. And DAL, Delta Airlines, I covered this morning. Nothing changed. Potential for the bigger 105, 120 target up there. In this roadmap line, retrace, permutation. Here's the high, here's the low. Break above the 618, set up for 70, 80, 90 on the next move. Yeah, this didn't retrace as deep as I wanted to see it. So it didn't pop out of here as violently as I wanted to see it. We're just kind of churning here. Churning. So I look for that next pop up into the 79.80 after we get above 67 on Delta Airlines. Docu. Deep retrace. Was at the bottom? That's a good question. If we can hold that, it was an ABC. If we push below, then this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably. This might be the 4. If we're going to be going lower. So this needs to break above the roadmap line on this attempt, or retrace and breakthrough. If we don't, if we reject off, probably tipping the odds we're going down in the 30s on Docu. CPNG, Copang. It's rough right there. Yeah, all this overlapping price action where you've got this high, and you skip a high and a low, and you get the retrace, and it overlaps. Or you even go with this one, and it still overlaps. Not bullish price action. This might end up going lower low. See how this bounced right off of that 618 pretty violently. Might be heading lower. And STX just keeps ripping. Where's the top? No idea. Next resistance up based on this pullback. Probably 483, 502, 558, maybe 643. Those are all wild guesses. I don't typically chase stuff that's just going crazy higher. So DOCN. Nice pop above the long term. Now, this may or may not work. This is like a big question mark. We don't have enough candles to really figure it out here. This close up here could set it up for 172. This is the lowest low. One move up, one retrace. This also could be a corrective move up. But if we are able to get on up above 96 area, stall out here, retrace, as long as we hold above here, which is a long way down, set that up for another pop. That pop will probably be similar in size to this one. So it would look more like I got to move up like this, maybe retrace back like this, and then a move up like this, and then probably get a retrace back like this, and then a bigger move up if we're going to do that. Maybe a move up, a retrace, and set us up. Yep, got that pretty darn close there. But you got to survive through all this. And this could take years too. There's a chop in there. Can I do something different? Sure. Just showing typical price action. Doesn't matter the ticker, doesn't matter the time frame. Forward, potential making a bottom in here. A little deeper. It's gonna be crazy if my forward prediction plays out. I made a forward prediction back in here. And their EV strategy weighed on them more than I thought it should. And now it's set up to do the thing that I thought it might do in the beginning, just taking way longer. We'll see if it can actually go. So next resistance up is around 15, 16, 17 on forward. Caesar. Golly, nose is itching. Downtrend all decade long, basically. Yeah, I wouldn't expect big things there. CMG already did. And IBN. India Bravo November. Say, where might the bottom be? So first move down, retrace, very quick. It's more like a WXY. And then a swift rejection off of that. Potential to be at the bottom. Funny enough, that whole move down and that move down are equal, even though time-wise they took a different path. Typically, we see it go just a little bit longer, a little bit lower. Extreme move would be down here. Indicate that we may extend even further down. But that could be the bottom. That potential is there. Yep. I'd look for the bottom somewhere in 25, 26 area for IBN. DLR, Digital Realty. Game on. Really churning this area, but 209 would be the upside here. It didn't retrace that deep. 3-day bounce, move up, secondary bounce. Now, here's the thing. This pattern takes 45 candles to play out, typically, on average. But it can take 150 candles to play out. So there's your 99 percentile is 150 bars. To be out here to get up there. This thing can screw around until it churns out 150 bars, which would be February 27. This thing could, before it gets up here. Entirely possible. And circle. Not much I can do here either. One little blip of a roadmap line. That's the lowest low. One straight rip off the low. Does not make a new trend. Probably going to get a pullback. Maybe go higher here and pull back and hold the roadmap line. Maybe. Don't know. If we did that, it would make it much more clear. And then when we broke above the 618, we'd be like, game on. Or if it got up and made a proportional 618 that lined up with the roadmap line, that'd be pretty sweet. It's going to have to do some sort of bigger bounce to do that. That'd be crazy. It'd be crazy if it ramped up here and then came all the way back down here. But it's possible. Crazy volatility. And then that would set up the potential to shoot up here. It's just speculating though. It's just giant question mark on my mind. Like, is that what's gonna happen? Or do we just retrace now? Stall out in here. Make a nominal pop. I don't know. We'll see. And then we have the big resistance right there at the prior high to get through. So it kind of make, you know, it'd be kind of interesting if we shoot right back up, bounce off that prior high, did that 618 retrace back in the vicinity of the roadmap line, and that would set it up for that. Crazy. That would be a crazy move. I'm long CRCA, which is a 2x leverage on this right now. And my contracts expire in 3 days. So we'll see what happens on that one. AA. Probably going to retrace back to the roadmap line. It's finally starting to get a move up off the lows for American. If we do the bigger bounce, we could shoot up here, but the conservative resistance would be 121. There, Delta Victor November. Double energy. Let's just clear this up. Got this high, we got this low, and we are coming up on the resistance. Right there. So far, looking like a 3-wave move. If we reject off this zone up to here, we're already in it down at the bottom. If we reject off this zone, probably going lower low. Boom, shakalaka. Charlie Victor Sierra. Funny enough, if you buy my $5 market roadmap class, this is CVS is the example I used all those years ago when I did it back here. First came out with it. Now we've got to move up. I retrace, move up, I retrace, and somewhat of an expectation that we go higher. 187, I mean 87, 89 be the next upside there. did activate that right there. Retraced. This has kind of been ping-ponging off of the roadmap line support. As long as that holds, we can see a pop up in this area. Another retrace, another extension, another retrace, another extension. Indefinitely. And here in about 3 minutes, we'll switch over to Ask Me Anything. CVNA. So I don't know if another company has as many insider sells as this has. The insiders think this is overvalued. And I would watch out below. This is pretty much pushed up. Could definitely retrace pretty deep. Like back down to the 30, 40, 50 area. SWBI, nothing really changed there. Get a nice pop. Big picture, this was a wave 1. This was a potential wave 2. The wave 3 would be way up here if we play it out. Intermediate resistance at the 618 there at 21. And the prior high where we rejected off here. So we get that resistance coming across. We've got this gap down resistance and 618 right on top of that. So there's a big ball of resistance right up here at 17 to 22 that we're gonna have to get through to go higher. If we can get above that, sets the stage for coming on up here. I have this set for a 10 bagger personally, and I got in at 10, so looking for 100. Could be a 20 bagger. Got several hundred shares. And oops. No bottom in place yet. This could definitely go lower. The FTX. Delta Foxtrot Tango X-ray. Trying to break through the downtrend. Golly, look at the nasty chart. I got a reverse split in there. Pretty sure it does. Yep. Dumpster fire. I wouldn't touch it. It's a garbage company. Companies that have these reverse splits, absolute garbage. Don't touch them. You're just going to lose your money. They don't know how to manage the stock price, and they're probably going to go to zero. FSLR. Just telltale signs. That's how I knew to look for the reverse split. Had to be able to go higher. Deep retrace. Hold support at that 618 zone. Look for support in here. If we can hold it, potential to go higher. If we don't hold it, potential to come down here. It's FSLR. Nike. Yeah, I think you meant NKE. You don't know your ticker. And broke support, so tipping the odds we're going lower. Got below, probably coming down here to the 48. High 40s, 50 area. Lower low than this low back here last year. It's very likely at this point. Bummer.